He who has an ear, let him hear. For the great General Pericles, defender of Greece, and the leader of our Athenian brothers speaks. He speaks with eloquence, matched by no man in this room. His sword is feared by the enemy. In peace he governs us with the wisdom from the heavens. Pericles has brought glory to Greece, issuing an era of prosperity not seen in this land before. Our brave general has led us through a dark age. Yes, many good men have descended into Hades, and it is those lives our brave leader wishes us to commemorate. Let us listen and give heed to his words. He has much to teach us. The esteemed fathers that have come before us left us a gift, a state in pursuit of the rights for its people, a state where justice is upheld, and a state where men are truly represented. People of Athens, let us listen and solemnly contemplate the dead, for it is for your country, family, and glory for which they died. Honor our fallen heroes now, and listen to the great Pericles as he exhorts us to remember the dead and press on to preserve the lives of the living. Please lend him your ears.
Most of those who have spoken here before me have commended the lawgiver who added this oration to our funeral customs. It seemed to them a worthy thing that such an honor should be given at their burial to the dead who have fallen at the field of battle. I will speak first of our ancestors, for there has never been a time in which they did not inhabit this land, which by their valor they will have handed down from generation to generation, and we have received from them a free state, and after many a struggle transmitted to us, their sons, this great empire. But before I praise the dead, I should like to point out by what principles of action we rose to power, and under what institutions and through what manner of life our empire became great. Our form of government does not enter in the rivalry of institutions of others. Our government does not copy our neighbors, but it is an example to them. It is true that we are called a democracy, for the administration is in the hands of the many and not of the few. But while there exists equal justice to all alike in their private disputes, the claim of excellence is also recognized. And when a citizen is in any way distinguished, he is preferred to the public service, not as a matter of privilege, but as the reward of merit. And neither is poverty an obstacle. A man may benefit his country no matter what obscurity his condition might be. And while we are thus unconstrained in our private business, a spirit of reverence pervades our public acts. We are prevented from doing wrong by respect for the authorities and for the laws. Our military training is in many respects superior to that of our adversaries. Our city is thrown open to the world, and we never expel a foreigner and prevent him from seeing or learning anything of which a secret, if revealed to the enemy, might profit him. And in the matter of education, whereas they from early youth are always undergoing laborious exercises which are to make them brave, we live at ease and are yet equally ready to face the perils which they face. And here's the proof. The Lacedaemonians come into the Athenian territory not by themselves, but with the whole confederacy following. We go alone into our neighbor's land. And although our opponents are fighting for their homes, and we on foreign soil, we seldom have any difficulty in overcoming them. If we then prefer to meet danger with a courage which is gained by habit and not enforced by law, are we not greatly the better for it? For when the hour comes, we can be as brave as those who never allow themselves to rest. And thus, our city is equally admirable in peace and in war. For we are lovers of the beautiful in our tastes, and our strength lies not in deliberation and discussion, but that the knowledge which is gained in discussion preparatory to action. For we have a peculiar power of thinking before we act, and of acting too, whereas other men are courageous in ignorance and hesitate upon reflection. To sum up, I say that Athens is the school of Greece, and that the individual Athenian in his own person seems to have the power of adapting himself to the most varied forms of action with the utmost versatility and grace. For in the hour of trial, Athens alone among her contemporaries is superior to the report of her. No enemy who comes against her is indignant at the reverses which he sustains at the hands of such a city. No subject complains that his masters are unworthy of him. For we have compelled every land and every sea to open a path for our valor, and has everywhere planted eternal memorials of our friendship and of our enmity. Such is the city for whose sake these men nobly fought and died. They cannot bear the thought that she might be taken from them, and every one of us who survive should gladly toil on her behalf. I have dealt upon the greatness of Athens, because I want to show you that we are contending for a higher prize than those who enjoy none of these privileges, and to establish by manifest proof the merits of these men who I am now commemorating. I believe that a death such as theirs has been the true measure of a man's worth. It may be the first revelation of his virtues, but it is at any rate their final seal. They have blotted out evil with the good, and have benefited their state more by their public services than injured her by their private actions. None of these men were enervated by wealth or hesitated to resign to the pleasures of life, but deeming that the punishment of their enemies was sweeter than any of these things, that they could fall in no nobler cause, they determined at the hazard of their lives to be honorably avenged and to leave the rest. They resigned to hope their unknown chance of happiness, but in the face of death relied only upon themselves. And when the moment came, when they were minded to resist and to suffer rather than to fly and save their lives, they ran away from the word dishonor. But on the battlefield, their feet stood fast. And in an instant, at the height of their fortune, they passed away from the scene, not of their fear, but of their glory. Such was the end of these men. They were worthy of Athens. And the living not need desire to have a more heroic spirit. The value of such a spirit cannot be expressed in words. Anyone can discourse to you forever about the advantages of a brave defense. But instead of listening to him, I would have you day by day fix your eyes upon the great city of Athens until you are filled with a love of her. And you have been impressed with the spectacle of her glory. Until you reflect that this empire has been acquired by men who knew their duty and had the courage to do it, who in the hour of conflict had the fear of dishonor always present in them, and who, if they fail, would not allow their virtues to be lost in their country, but freely gave their lives to her as the fairest offering which they could present at her feast. The sacrifice which they collectively made was individually repaid to them, for they received again each one of himself a praise which grows not old, but of that in which their glory survives and is proclaimed always. For the whole earth is the tomb of famous men. Not only are they commemorated in the columns and inscriptions of their own nations, but in foreign lands there dwells also an unwritten memorial of them, graven not on stone, but in the hearts of men. Make them your examples, and esteeming courage to be freedom, and freedom to be happiness, do not weigh too nicely in the perils of war. To a man of spirit, cowardice and disaster coming together are far more bitter than death striking him unperceived at a time when he is full of courage and animated by the general hope. I do not pity the parents of the dead who stand here. I would rather comfort you. You know that your dead have passed away amid manifold vicissitudes, and that they may be deemed fortunate who have gained their utmost honor, whether an honorable death like theirs or an honorable sour like yours. I know how hard it is to make you feel this, when the good fortune of others will too often remind you of the gladness which once lightened your hearts. And sorrow is felt at the want of those blessings, not which a man never knew, but which were part of his life before they were taken from him. Some of you are of an age of which they may hope to have other children, and they ought to bear their sorrow better. Not only will their children who may hereafter be born make them forget their own lost ones, but the city will be doubly a gainer. She will not be left desolate, and she will be safer. For a man's counsel cannot have equal weight or worth when he alone has no children to risk in the general danger. And to those of you who are in their prime and have passed your prime, I say this: congratulate yourselves that you have been happy during the greater part of your days. Remember that your life of sorrow will not last long, and be comforted by the glory of those who are gone. For the love of honor alone is ever young, and not riches, as some say, but honor is the delight of men who are old and useless. To you who are sons and brothers of the departed, I see that the struggle to emulate them will be an arduous one. For all men praise the dead, and however preeminent your virtue may be, I do not say to even approach them and avoid living their rivals and detractors. But when a man is out of the way, the honor and goodwill which he receives is unalloyed. I have paid the required tributes in accordance to the obedience of the law, making use of such fitting words as I had. The tribute of the deeds has been paid in part, for the dead have them in deeds, and it remains only that their children should be maintained at the public charge until they are grown up. This is the solid prize with which, as with a garland, Athens crowns her sons living and dead after a struggle like theirs. For where the rewards of virtue are greatest, there the noblest citizens are enlisted in the service of the state. And now, when you have duly lamented every one his own dead, you may depart.